when you first started the YouTube game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you start making your mark. And now, you know, you fast forward and you're one of those people that sought after, looked after as far as being an orator, speaking, giving advice. How has your life changed since the first time you've been on YouTube till now?
Oh, it's drastically changed. You know, I used to drive trucks, and prior to doing the internet thing, it was like I was driving trucks for 6 years, and I was like, it's about time for me to stop doing this because I got so many other skills and talents that I'm really not tapping into. And to make a long story short, I was making about $1,100 a week driving trucks, and I bought a car the last day of the month, December 2022. 2023, 3 days after that, I ended up getting fired from that job.
You got fired from truck driving?
Yeah, they said laid off, but to me, it's fine because they come to me talking about, oh, you know, when
they realize it don't take no hour to make $20. I said, damn, that shit was real. I said, damn, that's a good ass. Now, you know, you do come back. I see you with the blingery on. So the YouTube streets must be treating you well. Talk about the transformation. You know what I'm saying? We do see you glowing up. We see the glow up.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Well, you know, life is about transforming. So the more you learn, the more you grow, the more you tap into unrealized parts of yourself. So when I first started this thing, it's always been about women's empowerment for me. But I learned so much going along, and what I've come to realize, part of the glow up for me is realizing that women need a lot more help than they're actually getting, because their issues are not just surrounded by men. Most of their issues lie within themselves. And coming to realize that the message has taken on a new evolutionary path in a direction that I didn't even know how deep it could be. But at this stage in the ball game with leadership development and things like that, we're evolving into speaking at conferences and events and things like that to really, really hone down where women need to really transform to help themselves, because I think we get really lost in this idea of relationships. So where I've evolved into is really more of a spiritual direction as opposed to just focusing on relationships, if that makes sense.
That's good, because
Okay, listen, hey guys, welcome. It's a little black book. I know I'm doing a collab with my DarkArts channel. So I thought I'd do a video, right? And it's interesting. If you watched my video last year, where I did a video on Princella, Queenmaker, I spoke quite long, actually. It was a 4-hour video. And I spoke about how with Priscilla, that she was very evident on trying to say that basically that men are evil. That's where she was really going to. Let's be honest. The summary of what she was really saying last year, it was that men were pretty much evil and that she wanted the world to be run by women and for men not to really exist in that world. Okay. All right. Not necessarily exist, not at all. But she was saying basically because of men, that's why we have so much evil. And I spoke at length saying that because of some of her experiences in dealing with men, she has a very tainted, traumatic, broken perspective, which is actually damaging to both men and to women. Right? Okay. And now the next year, she's in our faces talking about how for her, she's in a space where she feels like actually she has turned the corner. But the question is, what really turned the corner? I think there are two things here. Number one, I know that she's trying to move into a more mainstream space. Remember Kevin Samuels, how he had to change his message slightly? He had to tailor it slightly in order to enter the mainstream phase. Well, I think she's had to tailor her message in order to gain a wider fan base and to touch more bases. That means that not to make your message as specific. And I think number two is because, shoot, she's a lesbian. Okay, all right. She got into a lesbian relationship and she was, quote unquote, being accused of being the abuser. And suddenly she could now understand how men were struggling in relationships. And so I said, is it really those things, or is there a switch and bait that's happening here? And when I say switch and bait, meaning, you know, she's promised a lot of things in terms of what she, what she wants to provide for the audience, right? She was all about the ladies and telling the ladies that basically stay single. These men, you know, men are pretty much wicked and evil and all them kind of things. And now we're now in a space of saying, well, women got major issues. So, you know, they got issues within themselves, and I'm changing my message. But what she's going to talk about is still going to be about male and female relationships. So really and truly, the message has only switched because more than likely the money is in that space too. Okay, all right. Opportunity is in that space too. Okay. And a lot of times these people that come on these spaces, I told you about when I first came, I said, whenever you're that extreme, you are talking from a place that is broken, hurt, and you need help because you're going to harm other people by having this wayward perspective, which has actually a lot of truth in it. Like Kevin Samuels had a lot of truth in his, but it's at the tipping point of a spear that's now impressed into you. So I've got to, you know what I'm saying to you? So we're going to play some clips, you'll see, and we'll have a conversation about this. Because like I said, there's a lot that's happening in the space that I feel like with Princella, aka Queenmaker, that there's some issues. What I'm going to do is, obviously, I'm going to put my link in the chat as well, because I will come off a little black book and go solely on To Dark Arts podcast, because this is more of a Dark Arts live that I'm doing, and I wanted just to combine it just so that we can get a few people in and have a conversation. But let's look at this a few more of the clips. Let's listen to what more she got to say.
I was actually going to ask you, right? If anybody's followed you, right, you have some quote unquote controversial, if you will, thoughts about men versus women or men and women.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of those thoughts or the things that you preach, has any of those changed or evolved, right? I remember watching a Malcolm X movie, and he said that, you know, at first he was so centered on only black people till he traveled the world and seen that other white people believe in Islam just like they do. And so he evolved, and that's kind of what changed him. Now that you speaking to many women, many men about these scenarios that you preach, has your stance changed, or is it still the same?
It's still the same, but it has evolved, because when I began doing this, I've always saw it in phases, and I've always saw it as an evolutionary path. And in my mind, I've always known that women needed a lot of help, that women needed a lot of development. But in order to start that process, women needed to know about men, because ultimately women don't know anything about men. They think they do, but they don't. They know nothing. And so
and that's the part we need to pause it, because what you actually started teaching women about men was not teaching them about the fact that, you know what, okay, you're teaching them the game about men, right? Without teaching the other side. A lot of her experience of teaching was not about healthy relationships. It was about negative tropes of men, which exist. So she wasn't wrong, but it was consistently aiming at the fact that men are wicked, they are evil beasts, and they are nothing more than the beasts that they will ever be. And so it's like, there's a few people that can ever come out of that space. And I was like, well, if you go and keep telling women how wicked and evil and men are, the simple beasts, and can't be anything more than that, then my sis, how do you think we go and get anywhere? And if they haven't changed and they are still the same, you already helping the women. So what's changed? What women need more help than ever, but they first need to understand the men first. So women need. So wait, hold on. Are we still centering men? Because if women need more help, why was your first thing for women to understand men? Why wasn't the first thing for women to understand women's nature, not a man's nature? Because it was a pain point, and it made money, and it got your cult-like audience, right? So if they understand things about men, but your whole thing is about centered around women, right? We'll come back there.
A lot of women have their identities wrapped up in men. So speaking about men are really only like 10% of the equation. Women are 90% of the equation. So after I talked about men are men. They can't be anything more than that. They're not going to change. They're not going to become cats, dogs. They're not going to evolve into women. So after I finished speaking about men, there's really nothing else to tell women about men that I haven't already told them. So once that conversation is over, now we have to turn the mirror towards women. And what you find out is that in these dynamics, 90% of the discussion has to be on women. And I find
so what she's actually implying, she's been always saying it, she's implying is that you believe that the men can't change. So are we saying a woman can change? Are we saying a woman can change? Because you were talking about the base level of a man. I believe that men and women can change. Because as a Christian, that's what we believe. That we can be transformed to not choose our bestiality instincts and be greater than that original nature that is a sin fallen nature. But you say that the men ain't gonna change. All right. Now something else has happened, because it's not about the fact that men can't change and you've done your job. It's normally this happens just like the red pill had to shift, just like Kevin Samuels had to shift, just like Fresh and Fit had to shift. When these things are very extremes, you're gonna have to shift. When you are an extremist, you are going to have to shift.
That women have a lot of problems. I find that women are very, very narcissistic, and they do not realize it. I think.
Now, pause a minute. Hold on a minute. Women are narcissistic? So why didn't you start with them? No. Because when you were bashing the man them, yeah, you weren't talking about women are narcissistic. So let me start. You did not point that out the first time round. So now you're realizing women are narcissistic? Right? Absolutely, Rochelle Rogue. That's the problem. That's the bigger issue. That's the bigger issue. She talks as if she's not a woman and she has elevated. You're going to hear it as we go through.
Women lack a lot of self-awareness, and how I've taken my message, because I've got a little comedic edge. I find a way to show women themselves in a way that not many people can get women to admit that they are wrong. I have a way of getting women to admit, damn, I'm a terrible person, right? I've gotten women to see how terrible they are as friends, as relationship partners. Women are terrible relationship partners.
Let's pause it right there. Sis, you are a woman and you are also terrible at relationships. You are terrible. You know how we know that? I'm going to show you the evidence. Your ex-girlfriend is coming out and told us how bad you were in a relationship. So have you admitted how bad you were in relationships? That you're about to school these women? Have you told them? That's when you know someone's grifting and you know somebody is trying to make a buck on you. And what I've noticed, a lot of these people that are quote unquote, I call them cult leaders, but let's call them what they are, right? The reason why they can do what they do and have the community that they have is because people stop thinking. Right? People stop thinking. So just like the men who go and do the Fresh and Fit and all those people, they know their market, because the men on that side are dumb. No offense to them. I just got to be real with you. Some of you are dumb. Oh, I won't even lie to you. When I say dumb, you don't critically think. So this is why someone like a Fresh and Fit captures certain people's mindsets, because you're not thinking. You're not critically thinking. This brain that you're having here, you're not using it to think. And me too, I could be dumb too. So this is not even me just talking about the man them as if I'm above them. I'm not above them. I can also be dumb. It just needs to be the right subject. You know what I'm saying to you? It just needs to be the right subject. But a lot of these people like Princella, Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit, who else on that red pill spectrum that was on those shows? What's the other guy? Rollo Tomasi, they know exactly what they're doing. They know these people are looking for a leader to lead them, because a lot of them are not thinkers.
Right? But, you know, for me, it's about the truth. This is not me taking sides, because I believe that the world is in shambles. I believe that the communities are jacked up. I believe that, and all of this has to do with human behavior and how the sexes relate to each other and how the sexes relate to the planet. So in order...
If that was the case, sis, you would have brought an original message that would have been balanced, but you never did. You brought a message that was specifically talking about how evil men are. You can't bring a balanced message after that. You can't bring a message that's gonna be about the bringing of the together to people. When you talk about the man them can't change, and the men are pretty much wicked and evil. You can't bring balance, and you can't bring anybody together like that way. You know what I'm saying to you? You don't bring anyone together like that. It's like when I said about the Kevin Samuels situation. Some people will take some messages and still get the good out of it. I'll chew the meat, spit out the bone, right? And someone will say, because of Kevin Samuels, I got into this relationship. Great, I hear it. You can actually do that. But majority of people actually were hurt by his message because while you're trying to bring people together, your message had poison in it. So you know what I'm saying to you? And poison won't kill everybody. Some people may survive the poisoning, and be like, I'm a much stronger person.
It's not all on men. Men have their things that's wrong with them.
For sure.
I spoke about that.
But the question I was going to say is that with men, right, I feel like as a man, we're held accountable at almost every turn, right? Your mama holds you accountable. Your friends hold you accountable. Everybody kind of holds you accountable. Do you see the same type of path for women?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I think women are allowed to be, they're allowed to be delusional. They're allowed to not be disciplined. See, give you an example. If a boy child is crying and a girl child is crying, if he fell and she fell, they're going to look at him and be like, boys don't cry, this, that, and the other one. And they'll just look at her. That's what girls do. They're just emotional. Let them cry. Let them do this. Well, that's bad because as girls grow older, they never know how to control and govern their emotions. They're allowed to allow any emotion, anger, frustration, sadness, depression, no matter what, they're allowed to express it however they want to express it. I've also come to the conclusion that, well, let me back up, because everybody knows that I date women.
Right.
And when it comes to me speaking about relationship dynamics, a lot of the rebuttals always say, well, lesbian relationships have so much more violence. They only say that because they're thinking about a relationship where a man might be putting his hands on a woman. They're not including the other side of the equation where women are putting their hands on men and men are not calling the cops.
True. Yeah.
Women are very violent. A woman will put her hands on a man. She will hit him, spit in his face, call him all kinds of names, and everything is totally fine. Women are allowed to do this. And nobody should say anything about it. Now, these women they will be in these relationships and they will hit a man and they will take that same behavior and they'll take it to a lesbian relationship.
Okay, so just to stop her right there. First and foremost, listen, I think she's not lying. She's telling the truth. There are truths on both sides here, right? I think when you allow women to just emote anyhow they want, there can be trouble with that. But then also when you limit men from actually expressing when you limit boys who are now becoming men, what ends up happening is they also too don't know how to express themselves in a verbal manner. So they end up expressing themselves violently through behavior. So there is a give and a take. But you see how the message needs to be balanced? Do you see why I have an issue? Is because when we go to extremes, we're going to cause carnage. Unfortunately, a lot of people in society are waiting to take reins on either side. But it just needs to be more balanced. That's all I'm asking for. More balance in an aspect of when you're telling the story, because when she spoke about the men in a particular way, I didn't like the way she spoke about men. And I don't like the way she spoke about women now. I don't like the fact she's speaking about women this way either. Because again, it needs to be balanced. Okay. All right, we've got a few more minutes and then I'm going to switch it to my Dark Arts channel only. So if you're here on Little Black Book, there's a link in the chat. Join that link and join the live on there, because we're going to shut down this particular live on a Little Black Book and we're going to go simply to our Dark Arts podcast. The truth of the matter is, as Maya has also said there, she is playing both sides because there's money on those sides. And there's a lot of money for the men. The men, they pay a lot. I thought women pay a lot, but the men pay a lot.
See, it's the same person, same behavior. Right? But it's looked at as different because the man is stronger and he's expected to hold himself. But a lot of times in a lot of these relationships, women are extremely narcissistic and violent. And this is what I have discovered as I continue to work with women. And so what I realize is that women actually want men to be slaves. They actually want men to be their personal slaves.
But you did preach that men were slaves in our first interview.
Yes, they are. They are slaves. But who are they slaves to? They're slaves to corporations, right? They're slaves to the military. They're slaves in everything that they do. Their whole purpose was for them to work for somebody. And that's what you see. The man then is a slave to his sex drive. And by a man being a slave to his sex drive, he turns around and becomes a slave to a woman who expects him to be a slave to his sex drive and her. So she uses that as a manipulation tool to try to get that man to do whatever she wants him to do. Well, here's the problem. Women don't live in reality. A lot of women are very, very, very delusional. And
now, have you noticed this message is very much red pill? This message is red pill. This is red pill. Like, this is red pill. And so what she's talking about, I don't think she's lying about what she's talking about, by the way. But what she's talking about is a base level of a man and a woman. She's talking about the beast level, right? A man or a woman that's untamed, okay, unmolded, unsculpted, and is at their natural core is what she's talking about. But most of us, we get educated into society in the way that we should behave. So we behave according to rules. This is my honest truth. So I don't think she's necessarily lying per se. I think the problem we have, again, is that she is vying for power. And so, unfortunately, when the message has a God that is you and not a God that is the living God that I serve, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be specific, and who defines what love is, who defines what man can be, then what tends to happen is man makes their own ideas up and brings a golden calf. And then we get these really wild ideas that start to become manipulative, unbalanced, and then actually do a bit more damage than actually healing the people. You know what I'm saying to you? But we're going to shift over to my Dark Arts podcast side of things. So if you're not on Little Black, if you're on Little Black Book, switch over because we're about to leave this now over as well. Okay. Okay, we're about to leave this now. So we're going on to our Dark Arts channel. So I'm about to remove my Little Black Book from here. Okay. All right. So we're going to shut that one down. Okay. All right, cool. So let's make that right. Vito. If you wanna be somebody. All right, cool. All right, cool. So we're still in our Dark Arts podcast now. All right, cool. So all right, so let's go. I'm gonna pause this thing for a little bit, and I'm gonna go to another video she did last year. This was her last year, so I'm gonna put another video. This was her pretty much last year speaking as well.
it's pussy envy, right?
Okay, let's have a look what she says here.
Everything. You got to get to women and convince women to accept stuff. Women are accepting this under LGBT because they don't understand the nature of a male. The nature of a male is conquering, territorial, and power driven. And they have an agenda to eradicate you by wearing your attire to take your place. It's pussy envy, right?
In your perfect world, what does your society look like?
It would be women dominated, and it would be female dominated, and a very low number of men. It would be probably about 20% men, 80% women. I don't know if y'all know a lot about astrology, but the astrological signs for masculine, the masculine signs for fire is Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. These are fire signs, and they're masculine signs. What happens when fire gets out of control?
It spreads.
It destroys everything.
Okay.
The male is fire. The male has to be controlled. If you do not control the male, you will set the world on fire. And that's what you see right now. The world is set on fire. So the feminine is water. Scorpio, it's water, right? You fight fire with water, right? So in my perfect world, there will be 20% men, 80% women to control. Fire has its place. You can use fire to cook food. You can use fire for a lot of different things, but you can't let that get out of control. And you allow men to exist at their capacity. You don't make men do things that they weren't designed to do. Men were not designed to raise kids. They weren't designed to do that. They're designed to do. They're designed.
And this is where I start to disagree. Now, so where she says this, men are fire, I won't disagree. Women are water. Who said water is better? Who said water is better? Fire in moderation is good, but so is water in moderation. You have too much water, you can drown. You know what I'm saying to you? You have too much water, land is not it's not able to be habitated if you have too much water. So where we're going to say, if we have 80% of water and then we have 20% of fire as men, we'll be fine. So what you want is a woman-dominated world instead of a man-dominated world, is what you're saying, right? So listen, I'm not in a position to be start saying that women need to be less than men. That's not my message at all. My thing is about balance and understanding that one of the things that I do agree with her with is this: as a man, because you are given, and this is biblical, because you're given authority, you are in a position. The Bible says that the woman, right, will pine after the man and try to control him, but he will lead thee. But here's the thing. When he leads, he's not supposed to lead from a position of dominance. He's supposed to lead from a place of love. That's why when Jesus came, he taught them how to love and how to lead people with love. So you're not supposed to lead with an iron fist. That's what we see from the beast. Is what we see from people that are unnurtured and from people who do not submit to a higher power, which is mine, in my instance, my God, Jesus Christ. When you operate from that place, the Bible then says that the man should love his woman like he loves himself. And that the man then should be willing to die for that woman, the same way that Christ died for the church. So what we are needing is a balanced message that teaches men responsibility, which I agree with her in some parts, that teaches them responsibility with power. Or shall I rather say responsibility with authority. You can't just do whatever you want to do, which is partly what I agree with what she said about having men, and that the fact is they need to be tamed in some states, because if they're not, then there will be carnage, which is why God gave us governments. And so we're needing those people to also do the correct thing. Problem with people in government is that they're still men. And so men need a God to be transformed. This is why the gospel is what's needed in this generation. Now, I'm not trying to preach to you, but I'm trying to preach to you. Okay, let's go back to what she's saying. This is last year, by the way, again.
To use their mechanical skills, right? You allow them to operate at their capacity and no more. Society putting way too much pressure on men to do things that y'all wasn't created to do. So in my perfect world, I wouldn't put all of this crap on y'all to do. I wouldn't expect you to come in and share the load with me, because the community of women would take on the majority of that responsibility. And y'all would be over things that intrigue you, like death. Y'all like to fight. You like to conquer. I would let y'all go hunt, and I would let you be over funerals. But over big stuff that deals with nurturing life, y'all wouldn't have nothing to do with that.
See, and that's the problem right there. What she's done is limit men, and they're not going to be any better. And what she said is that women, of course, and by the way, I agree that partly that the way that God has made women, that they are the giver of life. Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you, right? They are the giver of life. And so I respect that and understand that also they're it's due to our social engineering, but also as well the way that women are wired. They tend to lean more towards being more caregivers. But if you remove a man from that space of caregiving, we have a problem of a generation, right, of both men and women who are missing out on the other party of a parent who needs to parent them to a better human being of balance. That's the point. What happens to men that don't have them that have the mother but don't have the father in there to be able to be balanced? We see what happens to these men. We can see it in our society now, right? They're not even able to compete against other men. They become extremely emotional and become extremely violent. So we actually need other men to be involved in the caregiving. What we need to be doing, actually, for me personally, is actually educating and elevating men to a higher standard. Say, hey, the way you behave, you actually got to look at the fact that you have authority. You got to teach a man how to be a king, but he has to teach him responsibility. When you look at this biblically, we see some of the, if you read the book of First and Second Kings, Chronicles, you will see there are men who are young boys who become kings. Some as young as 8, and some are as young as 8, 13. You know, at one point we see in scripture with Solomon, who becomes a king at a young age and asks the Lord for wisdom how to lead his people. There is a necessity for both man and woman to be involved in a rearing, but also a necessity for a man to understand you are a king, but with that kingship, there is a responsibility that the people that you govern must feel that when you govern them, you have their best interest at heart. So I don't like the system that we have right now where people do whatever they want to do and mistreat people. I don't like that system either. And I wouldn't like a system where she's talking about with women just do the rearing and the men go out to hunt and everything. It's very base level. You know what I'm saying to you? Very base level.
It sounds like Atlanta.
Yeah, huh?
All right. Well, I'm curious. What do you say to the woman who chooses to propose to a man? She wants to get on one knee. She wants to lock him in.
She a nutcase.
But no, if she sees it just based on society.
So this was last year's message. We're gonna go back. We're gonna go back to this message, to the message that was a couple of weeks ago. So this was only a week or two ago. This is a message, and we're just going back again. So I want to just show you the difference in messages.
And so they have these ideas about men in their head, what they want these men to be. It's like they got a movie, and they have a cast, and there's a role for this knight in shining armor that's going to sweep her off her feet and worship her and only her for eternity. His eyes see nobody else but her. His phallus sees nobody else but her. And so she wants that man. She finds a man that she likes. She creates this picture. She's driven by sex, and she wants to trap that man to worship her for eternity. And if he does not play to every single thing that she has in her mind, she wants to blow up the world. She wants to set off a detonator to destroy everything around her if things don't go exactly her way. And so what I come to realize is that a lot of men are struggling, trying to placate to the delusions of women. Not only are they struggling trying to placate to the delusions of women, they are still struggling trying to control just their own biological urges and their neurological messages that are going. There's a lot of things that are going on with men, right? And because women ultimately don't care. Women don't care. Women say they like men. Women say they want men. But I've come to discover that women don't like men. And the only reason that they're dealing with men is because they have this addiction to sex and power. And they feel like,
damn. So that's the reason why women like men. They have an addiction to sex and power. Ladies, is this true? Ladies, type in the chat for me. Is this true? Women only like men because of sex and power. Is that the reason why the women like men? I just want to know. I'm just wondering, because that, and again, this is what I'm talking about. That when men generalize women, I hate it. When women generalize men, I hate it. Like, because this is is what you're doing is creating what I like to do is she's creating the divide, because in the divide there is war, and we know that war is profitable, right? War is profitable. Creating a divide between the men and the women, okay, is very much a warfare. And in warfare, there is money. You can supply each side, okay, finances, or they can finance you, so I should say, right? Once you supply them the ammunition they need to be angry, frustrated, hurt, and supply their pain points, they go at it, but they pay you. You know how we know that? We've seen that with the Rothschilds. Maybe not say their name too loud because they might come and shut down my YouTube and them things there. You get me? Yeah? People that profit from war. Okay? But she doesn't realize she cannot be above her own level. If women are these things, you cannot be above what you're talking about. You are the very thing you're talking about. You're saying women are this and they only want men for this. So what do women want women for? I just want to know, what do women want other women to date for? Because if women are dating men for power and just for them to be a slave, which again talks to the base beast aspect of a human being, the base beast aspect of a human being. Okay, but if that's the case, what do women want women for?
like they can get a man to do what they want them to do and placate to their ego. That's the only reason why they're dealing with him. But if a man starts talking, if he starts expressing himself, women will write it off as mansplaining. They'll write it off as misogyny, all of that, no matter what. So there's a lot of frustration that's going on with men because a male is a male. Everything that I said about males has not changed. That is still the same.
It hasn't changed, right? But
Right.
I do feel like men will definitely receive this version way better because now it's like you're actually saying a lot of the things that men have been saying, like the accountability piece, you know, like I feel like because men don't want to get killed, they don't even speak on it. Like it's almost like an unwritten rule. A man will walk in and be like, you know what I'm saying? But they won't speak on it because they get killed online. They get called sassy. They get called whatever. And so you have now stepped into this role and we're sitting back like, shit, go ahead. We ruin your own now because now you have taken on the role to, like you're saying, kind of like the Kevin Samuels was quote unquote trying to get them to see what we see, but we just can't express because we get killed for it.
And it's not only that y'all get killed for it, it's really because males have communication barriers. Y'all's their brains are not wired the same. You don't have the same capabilities as women. So you all's communication abilities are not nearly as strong as women. So y'all don't even really know how to convey to a woman to a way that she will really understand what you're going through. She can't see it and y'all don't know how to explain it.
Now, there's some truth in this aspect, right? That I think a lot of men, not all, a lot of men don't know how to explain certain things to women. This part, I do believe there's some truth in it, that there's a lack of sometimes a lack of communication with the other party. And I think it goes both ways. Okay, it goes both ways. And so let me give you an example of what I mean by this when it goes both ways, because we had a conversation, myself, Jay, another Jay, a couple of, I think El Cid might be there as well. A couple of us had a conversation behind the scenes a couple of weeks ago. And we were talking about the issues between men and women and the struggles in dating. There was something that happened that I realized just highlighted the issue that we have. And here's what happened. As we were talking about it, we got to a bit of a, okay, this is our point, this is your point. Yeah. Then somebody, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Jay. It might have been Jay. Jay and Jay, actually. Jay and Jay, both the man and the woman, Jay, another round, basically came in between the conversation and said, you know what? I want to understand your point of view. Let me hear what you're saying. And I remember the feeling of what happened in that immediate moment. When she did that, my whole body just went. And I observed it and I said, I was like, oh my God. The fight that I was having with them was really about the fact that I didn't think you were listening to me. So it's not just about the communication. It's about that neither party sits down long enough to say, I'm going to afford you the space to talk and say your piece, and I'm going to understand you. I'm going to give you that space to understand, and then I'm going to hear you. And then I will also take a time. I'm going to talk, give me that safe space and understand me. That's the issue you're actually having. The issue we have between both parties, because they're so used to trying to be right, that both parties actually end up nullifying what they actually want to achieve. They're doing the very thing we say that relationships are not about, which is to be right. It's about understanding. So that warfare that we have between the two sexes is because people want to be right rather than be understood. And that's why I said she feeds into that, knowing that too.
The thing with me is I can see both sides. See, I'm not on men's side and I'm not on women's side. I'm on the truth side. And
hold on a minute. So you're not on the men's side, you're not on the woman's side. You can see both sides. So you are God. That's what you're really saying. You're not on the woman's side, you're not on the men's side. You can see both sides. There's no such thing. As much as I'm balanced, I'm still a man. You know what I'm saying to you? I try to be as balanced as possible and try to mitigate as much as possible but I'm still a man at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying to you? So I'm going to see things from a male lens. I try to be as balanced as possible, right? So I don't go to extremes, but I'm not beyond. I'm not beyond the man. Do you know what I'm saying? She's like, I can't pretend I am.
And I can see men and I can see women. And because women have the womb and women are the mothers and they are the first teacher of the child. The fact of the matter is that the majority of the weight does lie on women. Women just don't realize it because women think that they're the same as men. Now, men know because you all don't have the power that women have. And so it comes to a place where people are blinded by their privilege. Privileged people don't know that they have privileges. So the people who don't have the power that other people have, they can feel the effects. They know the differences. So women are completely blinded by the privileges they have. They're completely blinded by the power they have. And the issue comes down to women truly believe, males and females actually think alike, but in different ways. So I'll give it to you like this. So I majored in cell and molecular biology, and one of my classes was physics. And we went over Newton's laws of motion. And we all know that the third law of motion is for every reaction, there's an opposite equal reaction, right?
Right.
So the way my physics teacher broke it down, he actually made it a little bit more detailed. And he said, if body A imposes a force on body B imposes a force on body A that is equal in magnitude, but opposite in direction. So in other words, when two things clash, hit head on, the force is equal, it's the same, and it moves backwards in the opposite direction at the same magnitude. So if it travels 10 feet to the left, it's also going to travel 10 feet to the right. So what's happening with men and women are just like these vehicles. They're clashing. They're doing the exact same things to each other, and they don't realize it. Both the male and female, they approach relationships with a slave and slave owner mentality. So women actually believe that men were created to serve them. Women believe that men were put on this planet to serve and worship them and work for them. Women believe that a man is to go to work and work his fingers to the bone until he dies so that she can have a soft life and just ride easy. Women really believe that.
But not only do they believe it, the men work towards that, though.
I want to ask ladies, is this what you believe? This is what ladies, I just want to know, do you believe that the men should just go to work and just be working for you? Do you believe that the man should just be coming there to be a slave for you? He should do whatever you want him to do? Do you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to be open. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to be open. Because sometimes I forget that I am very much blessed with a community of both men and women that are very intelligent. And I have to forget that there's a whole eco world outside of our intelligent thought thinking. And that there are a bunch of people who don't exist in that world. You know what I'm saying to you? So I have to be a little bit open. You know what I'm saying to you? Because I'm listening to this and I'm thinking. I'm not looking just to agree or just disagree straight away. I'm thinking. And I also believe that I have built a community of people that are thinking. You know what I'm saying to you? So I think I'm a bit privileged because my community always around me seems to be thinkers. I don't like being around people that don't think very well. It drives me nuts. So I have to realize that she's speaking to a specific set of people, that she's not speaking to me and she ain't speaking to you because you're thinkers, which is why I'm saying that. But the problem with that is that if there are people that are not thinkers, which we see in politics happens, then they are easily swayed by poor narratives that are built to divide and not to bring together. if that is the case, that there are people that are not as intelligent, that don't think critically, that receive information, just take it, which there are people like that, and there's a lot of them, then it's our responsibility to develop information that then will feed the mind not to go into the warfare. Because all that happens is that information begins to disseminate into feeding that machine of man versus woman. So how does that bring us together?
And that's where men are frustrated at. And the reason why they're frustrated is because men are ruled by their sex drive. A lot of women don't understand that sex is a real need for men, to the point where women think that men just want sex all the time. They don't understand that a lot of times it's more of a need as opposed to a want. So men find themselves unconsciously chasing women, and they feel like they're being punished for chasing these women, and they're being taxed for their biology. Men feel like they are being taxed for their biology. So women realize this. So this is where the men who might have access to women, this is where they start calling these men simps, because they are led by their biology, and they start to placate to the delusions of the woman and her power-hungry self. And so when a man falls for that, other men don't respect that, because it's like you not being a man and having self-control, you letting this woman manipulate your biology for that. So this is where the conflict come in.
Right.
Right. So this, all I do is like, this is my thing. I really sit down here and analyze and understand what's going on.
There's some fair points within that. There is some fair points within that, as well. There's some fair points within that space that need to be that need to be spoken about. Again, she's talking about the biblical concept, and this is why I said that. Then you need to rise above that, because we can't stay there, right? But that's why the message has to be delivered in a particular way, so that it doesn't, so that also it allows for people to be able to fully be able to conceive that there is more and greater than I actually am. Do you know what I'm saying to you? And I think that's a major thing as well. So I don't know. I guess it's interesting in that respect. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I look at a message and I go, okay, I hear it, but they're again balance. So I'm gonna, because I know it's the last few minutes. I know I don't want to go more than an hour, but there is another bit I'm going to show you guys. So if you don't know Princella, she had a relationship with B. Taylor. Now, B. Taylor was on the red pill circuits, Anton Daniels, all them people back in last year, whatever, right? And so B. Taylor situation, she explains her relationship with Princella. So let's listen to a little bit of the relationship that B. Taylor had with Princella, and we're going to find out that this is a very interesting situation now. Boy, you better play.
Man took me to Chick-fil-A. She took me to the gas station. It's the bathrooms are
okay. Let's listen to this, because this is gonna be really important. Okay.
her lungs about like, God damn, like, oh, turn it off, shit. And I'm like, okay. So she's like, put your seatbelt on. Put your seatbelt on. So I put my seatbelt on because I'm like, okay, I'm in the car with her on the passenger side. I get real silent and I just sit there like, I don't know what the fuck just happened. She see I'm quiet. I'm literally about to shed a tear because it just took me off guard that she yelled at me like that. And then she goes to say, are you mad at me? And I said, yeah, I am. I actually want to go home. And she was like, I mean, I understand that, but you know, I get irritated with noise easily. Like overstimulation with noise irritates me and it makes me freak out. So I end up looking on the phone and seeing that she has a noise sensitivity. Maybe that's what it is. I'm just trying to self-diagnose her, and she apologizes, which was surprising because she don't barely apologize for nothing. So she kind of like apologized, but it was more so like making an excuse to the why she would yelp and snapped on me like that. And I just, okay, maybe it's misophonia. Maybe she's diagnosed with misophonia. You know, I do now know that P is on the spectrum, has to be, because of how she reacts to things. Little did I know that wasn't going to be the last time that she was going to snap on me. Now, a lot of y'all know that we went out of town to Dallas. We went to Dallas, and on the way, a lot of y'all saw how we took a road trip and how she was talking to me. You know, it was like, you know, I wanted to use the bathroom at Chick-fil-A, but she wanted to go to the gas station. She was like, no, you're gonna go use the bathroom at the gas station. I said, I've never used the bathroom at no gas station. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I feel comfortable going to Chick-fil-A. That's just what I feel comfortable with. She passes up Chick-fil-A. She's right there. She could have just turned, but she passed it up and said, no, you're gonna use the gas station bathroom. And her excuse was, I'm a woman too. I could use the bathroom as well. How can you fight somebody on that? You used to date men. A man would have turned to Chick-fil-A. A man would have took me to Chick-fil-A. She took me to the gas station. Somebody, if the bathrooms are clean, I didn't want to use that. You could at least respected that. Then when we in there, you know, she's like, and make sure you don't drink nothing either, because I don't got time to be stopping at all these bathroom stops. I'm like, oh, okay, like, can I get a Starbucks drink? And she was like, no, because I'm not stopping until we get to Buc-ee's. And that's in like 2 hours. But so I didn't even get nothing to drink. I just got a snack. We get in the car, we drive. Next thing you know, I'm taking a nap. We're stopping because she has to use the bathroom. And I'm looking at her like, so you could stop to use the bathroom for yourself, but you told me that I can't get a drink because you don't have time to be making all these stops. So I felt like that was inconsiderate and selfish. She gets back in the car, we get to Buc-ee's, we eat, whatever, we drive again. She stopped. Anytime we kept stopping, it was because she had to use the bathroom. So when we was telling the story in Dallas about, we was in the car kind of like joking about it at this point, about her not going to Chick-fil-A. And she accidentally took a sip of one of my drinks and was like, oh, why is your drink in the front? Like, you know, the cup holders, my drink is in the front, her drink's behind me. But she got mad that my drink was in the front. And she was like, well, why is your drink in the front like that? And da-da-da-da. And kind of was like fussing at me. And I don't know if any of y'all believe that. Any of y'all saw that. Y'all saw it, but the live is deleted. Because I told her it's not, people started to tell you were being mean to me. Like, I think you should delete the live. So here I am trying to protect her from revealing her true colors of how she treats me behind the scenes. So I told her how she was like yelling and kind of talking about it and deleted the live and was like, well, I'm not gonna post you no more on my live. And I don't got time to be fake. I don't got time to be fake. If we get in an argument on live, we just gonna get on an argument on live. And I was like, well, I'm not that. I'm a private person. Like, I don't do arguments online. I don't do that. But she was like, no, if we gonna get into it, we're gonna get into it and keep it real. And I'm like, okay, well, that's just not a good look. And I'm not saying be fake on camera. I'm just saying that it's not okay to bring everything to the internet. So then when we get back to the hotel that next morning, we talk about that again. And I told her how much it hurt my feelings. When I tell you, Princella starts yelling at me at the top of her fucking lungs, and she started hitting shit and like hitting the curtains in the room, yelling, flinging her arms. I'm like, damn, is she about to hit me? Is she about to hit? So I'm sitting there on the bed like, why are you yelling? Like, I'm not even yelling at you. Like, can you just talk? No, because you trigger me, and like just yelling and just going off. Like, she has such horrible anger. And
before she goes any further, I think it's important to notify that she is the man that she doesn't want the men to be around. Yeah, she is the man that she's talking about. You know what I mean? And obviously, this happened last year, early this year. This was like This is like May time or whatever, right? This is early 2024 that this came out. And so there's actually a lot more issues that actually she's carrying. And it's not just her. We see it with a lot of these people, the Kevin Samuels, the Fugazis, the Freshman Fits, like Princella herself, you know what I'm saying to you? I would even extend it to certain other people on the other side, the pink pill side, you know what I'm saying to you? The Simpson G's side, you know what I'm saying to you? Like, when they're so extreme, what you tend to find is that there's a lot of madness on their side. Listen, there's madness on my side. You know what I'm saying to you? You know what I mean? I've played the game. I've slept with women and done all my kind of craziness and etc. etc. That's why I can tell you so much about emotional manipulation, because I know what it looks like. I've done some. So it's not like I'm trying to put myself on a pedestal. No. But what I'm saying is, when you are so extreme without much balance, and you're always so dominant on one side where your message isn't one of health, but rather denigrating the other side. Yeah.
And I'm like, if this was a man hitting shit as he's yelling at you, this would be a very intimidating, to say the least. So, you know, we end up leaving. We was kind of in an argument about that. There has been other incidents where I triggered her because she was upset with me about something. So I triggered her, and she would hit things. She would hit a table, she would hit the steering wheel, she would yell to the point of spit flying out her mouth. And I realized I fucked up. I was like, what have I got myself into? But when she fell out with Daryl, why would I want to go against somebody like that? Why would I be brave enough to speak out and tell my truth? I was scared to say or walk away from her, but I did call a friend. And even before that, let me rewind back for Thanksgiving. And
before she goes any further, there was she actually addressed it. I remember this all the time. So this actually the thing she was addressing. This is on her one as well.
Ever get along with people, because what you do to everybody is you create an idea about a person, and there's nothing that can convince you, because you don't seek understanding. You want people to be what you want them to be, and you judge them based off of your feelings. You actually don't judge them with any righteous judgment. You don't judge people with righteous judgment. You judge people off of your feelings. And this is what I'm talking about. That right there is what I'm talking about. Emotional people are unrighteous.
My internet wants to play up. Boy, if my internet does not behave,
Because once a person makes you mad, or once a person puts a bad taste in your mouth, you create all types of things about that person based on a feeling. That is not righteous and is unfair to the totality of a person. And this is the reason why people have to move out of their emotions and incorporate their thinking, their critical thinking faculties, because it's that type of judgment that breeds conflict that never ends. It breeds conflict that never ends. So how are we going to build a community of women when we have these unrighteous thought processes about people who make us mad or make us feel a certain way? Now, let's put both of y'all, both of the emotional people in the same, in a room while they both have their emotions, neither one of them using.
I'm gonna find a clip where she talks about the bathroom.
Now, how could we go forward thinking like that? And you want to shift my perception about somebody who I know personally, that I know ain't got an ill bone in her body. She just needs to develop. She needs to develop in certain areas that allow her to stand on her own and not seek outside of herself for verification or validation, creating the illusions to make her a victim of circumstance. That's all that needs to happen. B. Taylor needs to figure out how to decipher which emotions are hers and which are other people, because she pick up on so much stuff. She got to figure out how to process that, because if she don't figure out how to process it, she she pushes that energy to other people that it doesn't
She's talking
belong
about B
to.
Taylor right now. She's talking about
Right?
B Taylor.
See, that's the difference between me and most people. I'm not unrighteous in my judgment. I don't let my feelings judge people. And just because me and her got into it over that very thing doesn't mean that now shapes my perception about her, that she's just some ungenuine person. That I would never do that, because that.
Now, listen, there's more of this stuff. You know what I'm saying to you? I won't even go deep into it. And my time is up anyway. So look, all I wanted to say is that from what I've seen with Princella, the shift has happened majorly, right? We've gone from talking about men being beasts and not loving women to now talking about the delusions of women. And maybe I'll do a part 2 another time. The reason why I'm seeing this also is because what we're seeing from her is also a place where, because she got hurt by B Taylor, and B Taylor, there was more that B Taylor said, you know. I like, if I was to play the clip, it went on longer. I want to see if I can even play the clip for you. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I'll show you
I
this
told
last
her
clip
that
for you
her
guys.
mattress, I'm like, your mattress is, it got pee stains, it got holes in it. Like, why are you sleeping on a mattress like this? Like, go get you a nice mattress. Go get you a mattress like mine or something. So her and her child, I started making her child go to bed at 8:30. And guess what? Her baby was going to bed at 8:30. Her daughter now goes to sleep at night because I set her a bed schedule. I put some type of structure in her child's life. Her child is.
So I'm guessing this is what Princella wants from all women. She wants a woman to be nurturing. But is she nurturing? Because then if she's not that nurturing kind of type, you know what I'm saying to you? If they're not that kind of type, then what bracket do you fall into? Because you're talking about how women would be in that nurturing space and the men would be out there hunting, doing all kind of things. But I'm not sure what space that she would fall into. And it gets worse. Like I stopped the video, but she talks about how her daughter didn't go to school and she doesn't homeschool her and stuff like that. I was like, look, we don't go that deep. You know what I'm saying to you? So what I'm saying is that with Princella, like a lot of these grifters, a lot of times what ends up happening, right? What ends up happening is that there tends to be a focus on people's pain points and trying to find your tribe by gathering them up to say, this is your pain point, I'm going to nail it. And I'm going to build a cult-like community who don't think and they just follow, you know? So, but anyway, listen, we're going to leave it there for today. Thank you guys. We have 50 people on the live for Dark Arts podcast. Listen, you guys have blessed me. We'll be back here next Friday, 7 p.m. I'm going to do lives every 7 p.m. on a Friday now. So I can, 7 p.m. on a Friday for the next few weeks. We'll choose a topic and do a live every week, just so that you guys can get used to being on this channel as well. So a lot of the Dark Art stuff here will be about revealing the game and also talking about manipulation as well. So if you follow the channel already, fantastic. If you don't, make sure you follow, you like, you share, and you subscribe. Click on the bell button. Look, specifically, if you're on this channel, don't just subscribe, click on that bell button, because what happens is you won't be notified when I upload. Okay, so make sure you guys are following on that channel as well. Okay, Elsa said, how dark we get it? Well, Elsa, listen, I'm gonna message you because I definitely want to do some lives where we talk about some dark arts, proper dark arts, you know, relationship dark arts. I think we should start doing some of those lives. So I'll message you behind the scenes as well, because then we have another space where we can talk about some real things. You know what I'm saying too? Because there's manipulation that happens in relationships all the time, but it's about also being able to understand when some manipulation is quote unquote needed, some is not. But we're gonna say like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button. Thank you for joining Dark Arts podcast. We'll be back with another one next week. Much love, much appreciation. Shout out you guys as well.